Now that we have the external shape set, we need to add internal features and cutouts, including the holes that will support the bolts. So first we need to navigate to the top of the clamp part as we would see it in the real world. Now this can be different than the top of the clamp in SolidWorks, which would be here. So this is the top, just like we were working on the bottom. But what we actually need to see is this section here, which will be the top when printed out. This will be one side of the clamp, the outside part of the clamp, and then which is found at which is technically the back in SolidWorks. So here we can see the angled portion here, and then the top of the part. The first step in creating a hole is knowing where to begin the hole. In this case, depending on what measurements you use, you probably found or would have found that the hole should be centered between these two lines here on the bottom and the top of the display, and then the center point would have been about 0.35 inches from this side. So we'll sketch a center line that can be positioned midway between these 2 points here, uh, from this back line, and then we can add a smart dimension of 0.35 inches. So from our sketch tool, we'll select the pull down arrow beside line tool and select the center line. We want to sketch on this front plane. Now if I hover over this back line, you'll see the line highlighted in orange and then a yellow point down here at the midpoint. So if we hover over that midpoint, it will attach to that point, and then we can extend a line from here. Now we'll use our smart dimension to set the exact dimension of the center line, so we just need to anchor it approximately here. Then we can use our smart dimension tool to set a dimension of 0.35 inches here. So we'll double click 0.35 and then accept that. And so our guide for the hole will be based off of this center point here. So this center point is midway between these 2 points and 0.35 inches from this back line. Of course, we'll accept the dimensions and then accept the sketch. Now we'll use this sketch to create our hole. To create a hole for a specific fastener size or bolt or screw, we can use the hole wizard. There will be steps in the book if this tool does not appear on your toolbar on how to add that from the add-ins menu. So if you're going through this process and you do not see the hole wizard tool loaded, see the steps in the book for adding that in lesson 4. So we'll click on the hole wizard button and we'll click on the positions tab. We'll be prompted to select a face first, so we'll select this bottom face, and then we can place the hole based on this endpoint here of the center line that we created. You'll notice if we move this that the tool is still active to allow us to create additional holes. We'll hit the escape key and we'll be left with that one hole. Now we can go back to the type tab and we want to select the type Counterbore. There's a few different options. Counterbore is the first and may be automatically selected, but you can hover over and see the other types of holes. We'll click the green check to accept those settings and our hole will be placed. You can navigate around and see the hole, how it's set, and the parameters of a counterbore to hold the head of a screw, and then the smaller hole to hold the fastening feature of the screw. So now we'll have two different types of fasteners that are used. So on our clamp, which has two shapes that are basically the same size, so this would be one side of the clamp, and then the opposing side of the clamp would also be shaped similarly. But the fasteners on one side of the clamp is going to have a bolt with a head on it, and on the opposite side is just going to have a nut with a washer or a wing nut. So we don't necessarily need a counterbore on both sides, especially in the case if we're using a wing nut, we want the face to be flat. So that's why we use these as a template. So we're going to use this clamp side shown here as the top. So we'll go to File, Save As, and I'll save this as clamp side top, where it was saved as clamp side template. Now I'll go in and I'll right click our counterbore. I'll go to Edit Feature, and I'll change this to simply a hole, and that will make it a hole large enough for the body of the screw itself and not leave a counterbore head, and this should give a surface for the wing nut. And then we'll save this as clamp side bottom, and now we have a clamp side bottom and top.